What's going on YouTube? Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's Carolyn Francelli. As you already know, if you don't know, welcome. Make sure you please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and comment down below. Let me know what it is that you want to hear from me, and I'll do my best to make a great video on it that's gonna help you and assist you in your life. Today's topic, I wanted to speak about our kids that are struggling in school. This is such a big topic for me because kids are so important to us, and if we could find ways to help them progress in life and advance, why not? So here's a piece of my mind on the fact that your kids are struggling in school, and my advice to you, hopefully, it could help you with your child. So first things first, everybody has their own learning pace. You have to understand that everybody learns, in their own way. They grasp information at their own time. Nobody is the same when it comes to this learning thing. And we have to keep that in mind with our kids. Be patient with them. Be very patient with them. Understand that it's not easy for them. They're completely different than the other kids in the classroom. It's not that they're dumb. It's just that they're learning at their own pace. The only thing that you should do as a parent in this situation is offer as much support as you possibly can so that they could feel confident, they could feel good, and they could do their best. You have to keep in mind that they're in a one-size-fits-all classroom. We have one teacher that was taught a certain type of way to teach a certain type of, way. And here we go, we put a lot of different little minds in here, a lot of different little kids who not only think different, act different, learn different, communicate different, and we're expecting all of them to grasp the information effectively and optimally, and that's unrealistic. I'm sorry, that's completely unrealistic. You're not gonna sit here and tell me that you're gonna teach a certain subject and you're gonna teach it your own way and the way that you learned in college, and you're gonna go and you're gonna try to teach that to another person that might have learned that same information from another teacher way better than the way that you learned it from another from your college teacher. So that's a perspective. When you think about your kids struggling in a classroom, that is a major thing to keep in mind. It is not common for a teacher to have a one-size-fits-all type of skill that's gonna allow that person to get through every kid in the classroom. I feel like there are teachers like that, but that is a gift to be able to touch every little brain in your classroom or in the world. There's people with that skill, but we have to keep in mind that teachers, they're very, very underrated. They're not given the type of appreciation that they need. They're not supported financially in the way that they should be, in the ways that they should be. And to be quite honest with you, I don't blame their lack of interest and their lack of passion when it comes to teaching our kids, because, honestly, let's be real, they deserve so much more. So for a teacher to develop this type of love and passion, it either has to come naturally or it has to be motivated by something. And like I said, not many teachers have that passion, not many teachers have that gift and ability to pretty much connect with their students in a deeper way, and in a much deeper way than the actual subject that they're teaching. That motivates and allows the student to connect and learn much more easily and flow. So that's definitely another thing to keep in mind. The school system is designed a certain way, and honestly, I feel like it's so overrated, and it requires immediate attention because there's so many kids being misdiagnosed. They're not being given the support that they need, and they're struggling. And the school system needs to change. Things are changing, life is changing, careers are changing, personalities and a lot of things are changing, and you know, our kids need that support. Our kids need that, you know, that ability to go to a place where they feel good about something that's gonna help them in life, where they're gonna feel comfortable, they're gonna feel like it's not a job to learn, like it's a beautiful thing. And schools need to create that safe place for our kids. They need to come up with ways to innovate teaching and innovate, you know, the environment and the way that they teach and the way that kids exist in these schools. So, like I said, another huge thing is the school systems. And there's way better school systems than others based on the location, neighborhoods, city, state. Honestly, that is a big factor too. But let's keep in mind, even the schools that are really good in great neighborhoods, they're better as far as like there's a different type of, there's better quality in the teachers, better quality in a lot of the things, but it still needs help. It's like this structure that is not benefiting this new generation. And I feel like now, especially now where we are in society and life and in this generation, we need to speed that process up, because like I said, our kids need that, and our kids are the biggest assets and investments when it comes to this life, this world. If we want a better world, we have to invest in our future, which is the kids. The learning pace now is much more different than what it was when we were growing up. I see my daughter learning things that I honestly don't even remember, you know, learning when I was in her grade. And that's another big thing, is I feel like school has changed a lot in that sense, where they're rushing kids. They see how things are becoming more advanced now. Life is like zooming and booming. Everything is just growing rapidly. Things are being innovated. You know, technology is evolving immensely, and so much things are changing. So the fast pace of the world is affecting our kids in school. And that's a big thing for me as well, because I feel like our kids are a product of us. And if we struggled in school and we learned at a certain pace and, you know, we struggled, our kids are gonna carry that gene. They're gonna carry that trait from us, and they're gonna have, not saying that every kid is gonna be like that, not saying that this is a statement that goes to every child, because there's parents who did struggle when they were in school, but their child is extremely smart. Of course, everybody is different, circumstances vary, but more often than not, our kids are a product of us. And if we struggled back in our time when we were in school, then, you know, odds are that our kids are gonna be struggling. And like I said, things are completely different now. So you have to remember where you were when you were in your child's grade and what it was that you were being taught, and understand that just because they're not understanding that subject or that material right now does not make them a slow person, or they have developmental delay. It's not like that. You know, they don't have an issue. It's just that the pace right now is extremely fast, and they need to pretty much be put in a place where they can learn at their pace and be able to grasp the information more effectively. And, you know, look at you. You learned, you know, what your child is learning at a later grade, and it didn't add or take away from you. You still have the ability to communicate. You still have the ability to work. You still have the ability to open up a business and become a successful person. So don't let the fast-paced environment that your child has been put in dictate who your child is, and if they have a developmental delay issue. Those are just titles given by standards that are being introduced right now. Every child is different. Every child has their own way of thinking, their own personality, their own energy. They have their own individuals. They are them, and you cannot compare them to anybody. And especially when it comes to learning, it's like, think about it. When you're in college, you have your major, and then now you have to pick these subjects. I mean, you have to enroll for these subjects, and when you're signing up for these classes, you get the option to choose the time. Not only the time, you get to choose the teacher based on their rating. You go on a teacher.com website and you find out from students that have taken these teachers, you find out what type of teacher they were. If they're good, what are their ratings like? And you get to make your decision on that subject based on, you know, those tools. Our kids don't have that. Our kids just get thrown in a classroom where there's a bunch of little minds, and pretty much they have to just accept what's being taught to them and the way that's being taught to them. And if they don't get it, you know, they get labeled, they get diagnosed, they get, you know, put in special education classrooms. And, you know, let's be real. You know, if you put it into context, it's not fair. It's really not fair, especially for these little innocent beings that cannot defend themselves, do not know how to defend themselves, and don't have the wisdom to be able to understand that this is just their process. This is, you know, life. It's gonna get better. So these kids are stuck in a classroom, in a one-size-fits-all classroom. And unless you as a parent express your concerns and demand that your child gets attention, or request a meeting to express these concerns and try to find ways to help them, they're screwed. They're in there, you know, struggling. They're in there feeling helpless. And my advice is to always stay in contact with your schools, always express your concerns, always request updates on how your child is doing, request extra help for your child. These are important things. You have to provide a lot of support for these kids, because, you know, me, for example, I remember struggling in school, and I didn't express that to my mother. I didn't, you know, I survived, whether it was by copying or force feeding myself this information, but I felt stupid. I felt unworthy. I felt like I didn't belong in that area, like I wasn't smart enough. So that was very detrimental to me as a person, especially as a young child. So always express your concerns. Another thing is, I don't want to, you know, disrespect parents or, you know, offend anybody, but this is just, like I said, this is just my opinion. This is honestly just my sincere opinion based on my own knowledge, my own experience with my child in school, and, you know, what I've lived. I strongly suggest that you guys do not accept any medications for your kids. Your kids are perfect. Your kids are who they are, and whatever it is that may be, you know, an issue, whether it's they're extremely hyper, they're not learning enough, you just have to find solutions. You have to find support. Help them. Be their crutches until they can learn to walk and run and sprint and fly. You have to give them the support. Medication is not a good support. It is toxic. It takes away from them. It might fix a certain problem, but it will take away from their personality. And you don't understand. Your kids are such beautiful souls. They have such a beautiful soul, and they have this gift that all kids have that later on they lose, which is creativity, inspiration, motivation, like all these things, these courage, bravery, this fearless energy, this fearless mindset. And what happens with these ADHD medications is that they will help them focus. It will slow down everything where they could process information better and everything's coming in. But it's gonna make them look at life in a very serious way, and it's gonna dull that little fire. It's gonna put out that little flame that's burning inside of them. So if you're being, you know, I was suggested to give my daughter medication. I politely declined. which, you know, this doctor was fucking terrible, pardon my language, but I'm not gonna get into that right now. I'm gonna finish what I'm speaking about, and then I'll speak about my experience. But like I said, I declined, and I strongly recommend everybody to decline. Everybody, I'm sorry. Just if your child is on medication, I suggest that you wean them off. Find out ways on YouTube, ask your doctor, how can you know, start removing the medication because you have decided that you no longer want it. And whatever issue your child is having, put them in sports. If they're overly hyper and, you know, interactive, put them in sports. Take them to, you don't even, if you cannot afford it, take them to the park for at least 30 minutes. Let them run, make them exercise, wake them up at least an hour earlier. Give them, you know, a nice 5-minute workout. Give them their breakfast, send them off to school, but burn that adrenaline, because these are kids, these are not adults, these are not, you know, grandparents. They are kids full of energy, good health, and excitement, and you have to be understanding to that, because when you were a child, you had so much more energy than what you have now. And just because you don't have it right now, don't act like you cannot relate with their energy and with their, you know, personalities. You have to understand that. You really, really have to understand that. And, you know, I'm not telling you how to parent, but I am giving you my most sincerest advice. You know, to touch bases, I really have to go back to this statement that I made, because it's so important. And it's to communicate with your school, with your child's school. Communicate with the teachers, request meetings with the counselors, with the, you know, with the extra help teachers, you know, all of that. Keep note of all of your meetings, all of your conversations, your child's progress. Do not hesitate to put your child in a special education classroom. And the reason why I recommend this is because the perspective that people have on special education classrooms is terrible, and I'm going to share my perspective with you. You leave your child in a classroom where there's kids thriving and succeeding and being rewarded and overcoming and reaching heights and getting great grades and doing well. What's going to happen to your child is going to get insecure. They're going to feel unworthy. They're going to look at themselves as dumb. They're going to compare themselves to their peers. They're going to probably, you know, develop a terrible relationship with learning. They might resent it. They might hate it. They might not even want to go to school. And what happens is that they'll find friends that, you know, depending on the grade that they're in, if they have more freedom, they'll find friends that meet their image for themselves, and they're gonna start to engage with these people they feel comfortable with. They feel like they belong with these people because they do not fit that other side, that other image, that other crew of intelligent and well-behaved and rewarded kids. So my biggest advice is the sooner you can put them in a special education classroom, which is only temporary. They are not marginalized and crucified to these classes. This is temporarily placements, and based on your request, whenever you want them to be removed and based on your observation for your kids, they will be removed and put back into a regular classroom. If you put them in a classroom where they have someone to relate with and they feel like they're in a normal environment where they're not only being supported, they're also, you know, they have patience. These teachers have patience. They have to have patience. So they're not being rushed. They're working at their own pace. They're working around students that are just like them. So they don't have to sit here comparing themselves and questioning themselves, because they're going to be in a normal environment. They don't know the label that of that title of classroom that they're being put into. They just know that they're being put in a classroom, and, you know, from the beginning of the year, that's another advice, is try to get it done in the beginning of the year, because the last thing you want is to pull them out of their comfort zone, their normal environment, where they already have their friends, they're already feeling, you know, like they belong there, to then remove them and put them in a place where, you know, it's strange to them, and they're gonna question, why can I be with my friends? Why can't I be in that classroom? Why was I removed? Why, you know? So try to, you know, if your child is doing poor and you see that they need help, for now, get them extra help and discuss the plans for the next school year with your with the teachers and the principals, whoever it is, the vice president. Involve anybody. As a parent, you have the right to demand a great education for your kids. That is your right. And as a caring parent, if you voice out your concerns, your worries, and you demand resources and help, you will get it. Ask and you shall receive. So please, please, please make that one of the things on your to-do list. If your child is struggling in school, make sure, please, that if they are struggling, put them in a special education classroom. Wipe out all the ideas you have of special education, and don't be selfish. Don't be selfish. Give your child the opportunity to grow, learn, and do it in a healthy way where they're not being hurt in the process. Because if you leave them in a classroom where everybody else is succeeding and they're falling behind, it is going to create another area of issues that you do not want for your child. And if you can get them the help that they deserve, the sooner the better, because the sooner they are able to gain this strength, this, you know, the skill of being in school, learning and getting the hang of it, the better it's going to be, and the quicker they're going to be able to return back to their normal classrooms where they could continue to excel and improve. Also, the older they get, give them advice. I never looked at it this way until I got into college, but you know, if I would have had this mindset in high school, I would have probably took high school way more serious. Other than that, I just struggled and busted my ass trying to study things that were just too hard for me. It was extremely draining to me, which prolonged my entrance to college. I did graduate it with honors and, you know, excellent grades, but trust me, it was draining, it was traumatizing, and it wasn't smooth. So another thing, like I said, another thing that I would recommend is to encourage your kids to make friends with other students that are doing extremely well, not because they should make friends with them in the sense that, oh, that should be your type of friend, but to learn from them, to find ways to learn from them in the ways, like for example me, when I was in college, I made friends with extremely smart students in my classroom, not because we had anything in common other than school, but because I wanted to learn from them. How are you studying, sister? How are you learning? How are you able to retain so much information? How are you able to process information so, you know, optimally? How are you able to excel so well? I want to learn everything that you do so that I could implement whatever works for me into my life so that I could do that. So that's what I would recommend you to do for your kids that are probably in middle school or high school. Give them advice. Hey, go up to your friend. Tell them, hey, can we study together? Can we go to Starbucks? Can we do like this little study group? Can we, you know, whatever. These are little tips that are gonna help them just start the conversation with their peer so that they could be able to move forward and excel in their classrooms and find ways to, you know, do better when it comes to studying and working. Do not put the pressure on your kids that school is important. School is important, but it's not everything. The most important thing is life. The most important thing is experience. The most important thing is finding a passion. The most important thing is happiness, peace, and living. That is the most important thing. So release this pressure of your kid, the need for your kid to succeed and excel and do well in school. Because like I said, that is bullshit. Yes, it is the foundation, it is the base of entering the world and being able to, you know, perform the basic functions of life, but it is not the most important thing. If you have happiness, if you have a skill, if you have, you know, your peace, if you have, you know, your mind right, everything will fall into your lap. Everything, the doors will open. And if society hasn't set such a great example for that, I don't know what else will, because we have people out there that are dropouts. We have people out there that don't know how to read. We have people out there that are just not good at, you know, certain things, but they're out there succeeding. They're out there becoming millionaires. They're out there raising the bar. They're out there breaking limits. And these are unskilled people. These are based on, you know, school. They're developmentally delayed. They are, you know, they are special ed. They are, you know, not smart. The list goes on, but you know, there are so many people, and please write them down in the comment section down below. Let me know, who do you know that's very rich, famous, successful, that was considered to be dyslexic, to have ADHD, to be in special education, and the list goes on. So please comment down below. Do it for everybody that's wondering too, because I think this is very important. That way you can research and understand that education is great, it is important, but the real knowledge comes from what you learn in life, from what you learn from other people who have lived life, who have learned from their mistakes. It comes from your peace, your happiness, and everything that, you know, assists your soul. So let go of this pressure and let your kids live. So when Bella was in school, we were still living in Jersey. She was struggling so much. Not only was me and Glenn going through a lot personally with each other and ourselves, but you know, she was just falling behind in school. And the reason being on that, I don't know whether it was the problems that we had at home. We didn't try to share that with her, but honestly, energy doesn't lie. I'm sure she felt it, but she was extremely performing poorly in school. So I quickly got involved. I got her into a developmental delay doctor. I expressed my concerns to the school. I maintained communications at all time, constantly emailing the teacher, constantly requesting meetings, and they tried to get her on medication. Like I said before, I declined because my child is amazing. Honestly, I think so highly of her, and I do not want anything that's gonna affect her soul, her personality, her mind. You know, I won't sacrifice that for subjects in school, or you know, her school performance. I will not sacrifice that, because like I said, that's the most important thing a child has, is their soul, their personality, their identity. And so like I said, I declined. All of this was happening towards, you know, like I would say December of last year, that everything started. They started moving, working quickly, because more often than not, by the time that you realize that your child is having issues in school, it's probably mid-year already. So that's exactly what happened to me. I noticed all of this stuff by like December, and quickly as I moved, you know, the meetings were happening, but we ended up moving in January. And a lot of things changed. Not only did I start working on myself and growing and trying to find my peace and my, you know, my balance, and, you know, working on my relationship with Glenn, we also changed to a completely different location. It's a very nice area, very quiet, very, you know, how should I put this? It's, you know, in the uppity up, which is, you know, they have their advantages when it comes to the school system. And, you know, as soon as I got there, I expressed to them what was going on, that, you know, I transferred all the paperwork, gave them all the medical papers and the notes from, you know, the counselor, the teachers, you know, everything that I had, all the files that I had, I handed it over to them. And the, you know, the principal, who's not only the principal but the one in charge of that area when it comes to kids and their development, said to me, look, I understand that, you know, they said this, and I understand that that's what's going on, but here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna just put all of this on hold. We're going to embrace Isabella as she is. We're going to just quietly observe her, analyze her performance, and then we will decide what is best for Isabella. So I'm the one in charge of this area, of this department, so I will always keep in contact with you if anything, if I see or feel that Isabella needs anything greater than what we are giving her. And sure enough, it was a week into school, they called me and said, look, Isabella's doing extremely well. I don't see nothing wrong with her. We're gonna continue monitoring her. We're gonna continue, making sure that we're observing her closely. But right now, I don't think there's anything that you need to worry about. And that was like last year. That was January of this year, first week of January, first week of school. They haven't called me since. She's doing very, very well. Her reading has improved. It's extremely, extremely good. And her personality is still rocking, So that's my experience with you guys. Don't allow a doctor to force feed you this idea, this, perspective of what they think is best for your child. You need to be a voice for your child, and you need to have faith in your child, and you have to find other ways to approach this situation. So I really, really hope that my story helps you, because like I said, every teacher teaches differently. Every child learns differently. Every school district is different. Every school is different. Every area could be different. There's a lot of factors that come into play before just putting your child on medication. And scientists, they don't just look at a problem and diagnose it. They put it under study. They start doing experiments. They start observing. They start hypothesizing and, analyzing, and then experimenting. And then if it doesn't show any, then they change the experiment. And if it works, then it becomes a solution. It becomes a law. And that's how we need to treat everything in life. Everything that, we encounter. We can't just come up with these, diagnoses and conclusions and crucify our minds to these perspectives and ideas. We have to explore and experiment and enjoy the process of coming up with a solution and being positive about it. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I truly, truly appreciate your support. Please subscribe. I cannot wait to discuss more things with you. I feel like I am home. I feel good. I can talk in front of a camera. My hyperventilation is way down at a minimum. So I think this is the beginning of something great. And like I said, comment down in the comment section. Leave a comment with those names of the famous people that you know. And also leave me a comment. Let me know what you want me to speak about. What topics do you want me to tackle? Thank you guys for watching.